Hello, welcome to the Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And today I am so excited because I have an amazing man with me today. He has just done so much. I just want to call him a creator in the music industry. His name is Otto D'Agnolo, and Otto D's life in music spans decades as a performing musician, singer, songwriter, recording engineer, and music producer. Beginning on trumpet at an early age, Otto D moved quickly to electric guitar in his teens and formed his own band. He spent his early 20s playing clubs and bars throughout the Midwest and claiming at one point to have played every bar in Iowa. Originally from Peoria, Illinois, Otto D landed in Phoenix, Arizona in 1989 and began working as a recording engineer and music producer, while often recording his own songs in his spare time. In 2005, he released his first CD under the pseudonym Caesar Bach, and then another disc as Otto D in 2010, and he rarely played on stage in Arizona until 2013. With the release of his latest CD entitled Amuse Zing in 2015, Otto D began performing his own music more often as a drummer. A drummer named A.D. Adams once told him, "It ain't gonna play by itself," which I definitely want to talk to you about. So additionally, as a songwriter, his work has earned him an Emmy Award, and his songs have been released by a number of record labels while being featured in various TV shows, including Jersey Shore, LA Inc., Punk'd, Hollywood Story, The Office, The Mentalist, which is one of my favorite shows, and many others. As a recording engineer and music producer, he has earned multiple gold and platinum awards and has worked on projects for many of the greatest recording artists of our time, including the amazing Glenn Campbell, Waylon Jennings, Billy Preston, Sam Moore, Jordin Sparks, Kenny Rogers, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Neil Diamond, Lou Rawls, Alice Cooper, and many, many others. Recently, Otto D hosts his own weekly internet show on the same internet station, starworldwidenetworks.com, as the Quantum Success Show, and is involved as either a screenwriter, director, editor in a number of film projects currently in production. He also currently is producing music for projects for a country singer in San Diego, a soulful jazz pop singer in Atlanta, and a rock group in Phoenix. Welcome, Otto.
Well, welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here.
Gosh, I've never heard anyone read my whole bio. I got to shorten that.
Well, you've done a lot. We were just talking about it, that you have so many different aspects of what you do. I'd love for you to list them because we were talking about that.
No, I think I'm impatient. I get involved in something and you really have fun with it, and then you get engaged by something else, and you make a change.
Yeah, you're very creative.
Yeah.
So I always say that I'm not just a author or a speaker or a coach or a healer. I'm many of those things, and I do all those things in my career. So you do many aspects as well.
Yeah, I really do. And I think that I just enjoy creative people and really digging something out of them. When you talk about producing a record, you're trying to coax a performance out of a singer. And so it's just from an audio world. And then the move to directing and working in film is kind of like, well, now I get to worry about how you look too when you say it. And it's still trying to coax an emotional delivery out of somebody, to get a point across or to make a scene work. So it's just more of the same, only it's more fun. There's more stuff going on.
Absolutely. So your career has spanned 3 decades, and you must have seen a lot of changes in the music industry.
Oh, yeah. The music industry has changed completely. In fact, it's changed a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. Things continue to change. But I like that I came up before digital, when we still had tapes, and big recording consoles, and it took a few people to do the mix. And often when you would do a mix of a song, you would have different people responsible for different faders because you had to move them as the music went by. And then you'd look up and did it work? Did we get it? And you play it back and somebody forgot to turn off the hi-hat and the bridge where they were supposed to turn it off. You have to start all over again. Those days are gone when we came to the computer and it's all memorized. One guy sits there with his mouse making music. So it's kind of easy, but on the other hand, we've really lost the interaction of people in the process, both from the artist side on one side of the glass to the production side on the other.
Let me ask you a question, because I'm a big rock and roll girl. I love like when I found out that you play the electric guitar, I'm like, oh my God. I want to learn how to play, just because when I'm in my car and I'm jamming, I just want to at least pretend like I'm getting it right, you know? So that's all the only reason. Just so when I'm playing air guitar, I've got it. But I can hear the music of like the 80s and even the rock of the 70s and like hear that type of guitar and hear the saxophone or hear the different elements. And it seems different back then when you recorded an album than it does now. Do you find?
I think music continues to change, you know, and part of that is the recording processes. Part of it is the instruments. I mean, we're looking at Guitar Center filing bankruptcy, if I recall, or closing some shops, you know, and part of the reason is no one's buying guitars. We make music on drum machines now. Wow. And we're dealing with a whole transition of how music is created or what tools new creators are using. And the concept of playing in a band is nearly gone. So it's just not the same as it used to be. So music will always sound different because the tools are changing and the impetus is changing.
Well, how I always know a genius is when, you know, things change and you continue to change with it, and you allow yourself to still in the midst of that change be open for the creative impulses. And you talk about that in your book, The Music Business is Burning Down, Thank God. So, you know, you talk about that creative impulse and really being able to follow your own path. And that's what I do have people do as a coach, is that, you know, don't follow the crowd, follow that creative impulse. So how has your own creative impulse within you really allowed you to create the career that you've created?
Well, I think that's a great question, and for me it came down to a transition between worrying about making money and worrying about whether I'd ever listen to the record again that I'm making. And I kind of drew a line saying, you know what, if I don't like what we're doing artistically, if it doesn't somehow inspire me, then I don't want to do it because I know I'll never listen to it again. That means I'm just kind of wasting my time for you for money. And I kind of made that rule. And the only exception would be if I loved you. If you're great people and I know you, you're a dear friend, and yeah, the record's not that great, but I can help you make it better. So those are really the two things I use to measure getting involved in a project. And then I found I spent more time talking bands out of coming into the studio because they weren't ready than I did doing records. And I started getting interested in other projects that were more creative for me. And I found film and screenwriting and then directing and editing as this brand new place to go swim around. You know, it was very creative.
Awesome. So what I wanted to ask you about is, you know, how did you, because this show is all about quantum success. So when the music industry was changing and shifting, how did you focus on a vision of who you wanted to become and moving into that versus focusing on what is? Because I think a lot of people can look at what is and get into the fear and the lack of it instead of really being able to shift and change and move along with it. Yeah. Is there any practices or anything you told yourself? No.
I'm kind of different or maybe lucky that way. I always risk everything. I seem to have very little interest in or fear of failure. I have a fear of today being just like yesterday. And so I tend to just always get inspired or gravitate to things that I haven't done or things that I don't know much about. And so that's just always drawn me into new spheres constantly.
Is that something you developed? You always just had it in you, and where did you think you got that from?
You know, as a teenager, I was in a rock band, and so you don't even have a car, and you're playing in nightclubs, and they kick you out during breaks because you're not old enough to be in, and you're already not doing what everybody's doing. And so you kind of get groomed to not do what everybody's doing. So it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing in terms of work or where you have to go get a job, you have to go to college. I had a full ride scholarship to a private college, and I didn't even know it because it didn't matter to me. It didn't sink in when I was told that I had that. So I went to this private college for 1 year and instead skipped every class and played in my band and hitchhiked to see my girlfriend, and I flunked out. Thank God they didn't mail my grades home, so my parents didn't know. And I just said, I just want to go to work for my dad this summer. And I kind of didn't go back to school. And 30 years later, my sister's telling somebody that story. And I'm like, I did not have a scholarship. She's like, yes, you did. Ask Dad. So I asked my father, and he said, yeah, you did. You had a full scholarship to Bradley University. And I'm like, can I still use it? I was like, no. Like, wow. Stupid musician, you know. But I think that's the thing is that's the mindset, awesome. Is that if I'm not interested or if I don't want to, I'm not gonna. And that's not good for business, but that's great for happiness. You tend to do what you want to do. You tend to go places that inspire you. And I think if you're inspired, you tend to inspire people. And that the impact for me, and when you would talk about success, is when you cross people's lives and they want you to cross their life again. That's success.
Yes.
I'm not big on things. Some things are nice, so you have some things, but things can be as much trouble as they are good. And to me, success really is more about my time and my opportunities and the people that I impact.
Well, talk about Jordin Sparks for a minute, because I wanted, obviously she's locally from Arizona, and I had the chance when my book Taming Your Alpha Bitch was coming out, we were going on the Today Show, and it's really funny because
fun.
yeah, it was fun. But it was like it was like, wow, it's the first time I'm going on national TV, and it was the night before, and I get a call from the producer, and she said Kathy Lee Gifford is off tomorrow, which was almost like a whew, because she could be pretty tough in interviews, as I've been warned, right? But Jordin Sparks is going to be the host along with Hoda.
Really?
Yeah, so I was really excited because I love Jordin Sparks' music. She's phenomenal. And she was just wonderful. So she and Hoda had interviewed me and my co-author at the time, and I handed her a book afterwards. And as she was walking out of the Today Show, she was holding my book, and People Magazine was right there, and said, Jordin, what are you reading? And she said, Taming Your Alpha Bitch. Everybody's got one. She's like, you got to read it. And so now I have this picture of Jordin Sparks,
That's awesome.
Carrying my book. So
Yeah.
I love her music. What music were you involved in? How were you involved with her?
You know, she's from the Valley. And so we crossed paths when she was really young. Her grandmother was her manager at the time and brought her to me at the studio and said, you know, we don't know what to do with this girl. We think we need to cut a demo. She'd already been touring as a background singer for Michael W. Smith, I think.
Oh, wow.
And there was a label in Nashville, Lyric Street, that had talked about maybe doing a deal with her, but she was young and they hadn't made a move yet. And so she came in and we actually cut some demos of country music because she was a huge country fan and really wanted to be a country singer. And to hear her sing Crazy would just kill you. She was just fantastic. Wow. And then they once said to me, this American Idol thing was happening. And they said, do you think we should put her on American Idol? Lyric Street thinks that might be a good idea. And I said, you know, of all the kids I've worked with, every kid thinks that they're going to be amazing. And I said, Jordin, she has what it takes to win that thing. I said, I don't know if she would, but she has what it takes. It would just, you'd have to see. And she did. And then I had an opportunity years later to work with Randy Jackson. And he came to town to work on a project. And I had an opportunity to play for him the demo, the Crazy demo that Jordin had done, because he had never heard her sing country music. And that was pretty wild. But she was a sweetheart. The first time I heard her sing the national anthem on the radio, I had to pull my car over because I knew it was going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I pulled over just to hear her singing the national anthem for a Cardinals game. She's incredible.
Yeah, she has an incredible gift. Absolutely.
Yeah, and a real sweetheart, and just had a child a few weeks ago.
Well, congratulations, Jordin.
Yeah.
One of the things that for me as a creator and doing what I do is that my books just kind of come through me. I don't, I've had people come up to me before, like literary agents or, publishers, and say, okay, where's your next book? And I'm like, I don't work that way. It just, they either come through or they don't. And I don't ever try to push it or go to write a book. It's just something that this book came through me. So when we were last year at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we saw two of my favorite songs that were next to each other, and it was on the piece of paper that the artist had actually written the music down. And one was Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good to Me So Far.
Great song.
Great song. I want to get a Maserati just so I could play that song. I think that's the only reason. I think they'll rent it to me for like a month just so I can drive around my car.
Why not?
With that song. And the other song was from Billy Joel, My Life. And for me, seeing those two pieces of paper next to each other and to see that that was the moment of where like genius was coming through, like that just divine spark was coming through, and an artist grabbed his paper and grabbed a pen and in their own writing wrote it down. How do you describe your creative process?
Well, it's not always the same, but I've had that happen, and it's weird when that happens. You'd be driving, and a whole song, melody and lyric just comes to you. And thank goodness for voicemail these days. You call yourself and and sing it, so you don't forget it.
Yes.
But that's often the impetus, and sometimes the inspiration is a concept and maybe a line or two, and then you sit down and start with an instrument and kind of connect some music that seems to either support that lyrical content or emotional content or juxtapose it, depending on what you're trying to do. And then once I kind of get that together, then I start working out the rest of the melody long before I worry about the lyric. I like the phrasing or the rhythm of the melody first, and then I start to find words that fit those rhythms that go along with what it is I'm writing about. And then, of course, it can morph as it goes, but it's a fun process.
Well, as I was walking in the studio today, Ed, he had said to me, "Have you ever, seen Otto D's, interpretation of John Lennon?" And so and you have to go on YouTube and check it out. It's incredible.
Go to ottod.com and click on My Lennon Shows right on the front page, and there's some stuff.
There you go, easier yet. So incredible. He showed me, and I just got absolute chills, and I had to sit down. Do you mind grabbing your guitar behind you?
No, not at all.
Would you be willing to give us a little treat?
Oh, no. Well, I'd love to play one of my songs, but if you want me to play a John song, I can.
Well,
But I'm in the middle of a move, and I left all my Lennon glasses at my house. So, I don't have any of those in my wigs, but my hair's getting longer. But, a friend approached me about doing a Lennon show because he designed shows for the casinos. And he'd heard my record and said, "You sound a lot like John, and you look a little like him. Why don't you do this?" And I said, "Are you kidding? I had a band when I was in high school. It's way too much trouble." But he put it together, and we did the casinos. And I told him, "Look, I've never seen a tribute show, and it's kind of grosses me out. I don't know that I really want to do that." But I said, if it's great and people are impacted by it, I'll do it. And after our first show, we were at a receiving line for 60 minutes after a 90-minute set with people just really freaking out. And I think it's because it just was kind of a natural transition, and people really have never seen John go on tour after the Beatles. He really never went on tour. He was about to when he passed, but so no one got to see that show, so it was fun. As far as the Lennon song, obviously, everybody always wants to hear Imagine, but he does it on piano. Imagine there's no heaven. I'll try and do my John voice. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. No, 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 no. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
wow.
Isn't that pretty? So I just kind of sound like him a little.
incredible.
My favorite one is more like, "You make me dizzy, Miss Lizzie, when you rock and roll. You make me dizzy, Miss Lizzie, when you do the show. Come on, Miss Lizzie, love me before I grow too old."
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Wait,
So
do
that's
you want to play one of your songs?
Sure.
I'd love to hear it.
But we'll be here all day. They'll ask your name, they'll ask your number, they'll smile that smile they've practiced for years. They'll tell you their thoughts, then they'll tell you yours. You know they want you this way, not such a high price to pay. Put it in the closet, it's a dirty little secret. Put it in the closet and lock it away. Put it on the top shelf, don't tell a soul. You know they'll find it, you know they'll find it one day. Hey, yeah.
Love it.
that one?
Awesome. Awesome.
And
Awesome.
playing is so much fun because you pick a chord, or a rhythm, and that feels like something. It inspires you to write. Then you go, all I ever wanted. It's a song I wrote for my daughter, just about having her around, just to watch her fall asleep.
Oh.
And it's amazing how you can just pick up a guitar and play a chord and get inspired to write something.
That's so incredible. I have such respect for musicians, and guitar is like my favorite, you know, so thank you for that. That is such a
It's a
treat.
lot of fun to play. And you hold this box in your lap and you feel it resonate. So you have a real relationship with guitar when you write and play, I think. You know?
Well, you know, I'm a law of attraction coach, so I'm all about educating people on energy and vibration. And there's something that, you know, I've often said that as a human being living, you know, on the planet, one of my favorite things that I can't imagine life without is music. Because you can hear a song, I can hear a song and just get shifted into a totally different mood. And, you know, like it helps cry if you're in sorrow. I mean, it helps you move through emotions.
I heard something about that once I thought was interesting. There was a study that said women, when they're looking for a song to listen to, changing through music, they're usually looking for something to change their mood. And men tend to go through music till they find something that supports the mood they're in.
Interesting.
And I thought, that is very interesting. So catch that, watch that, see if it's true. I've been trying to see if that's really true. I think I do that. I tend to skip through tunes until I find something that feels like I feel in the moment, which is odd.
But it just is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But music has that power. It's incredible.
It does. And for me, as you know, most of us were kind of raised to not feel our feelings and to suppress our emotions. It was like music for me was that outlet that I could get it out. And so you know, my first favorite artist, and still to this day, are Joan Jett and Pat Benatar. And back in the day when it was like I was a woman and I got messed over by a guy, I could like belt out Heartbreaker with a hairbrush and, you know, and just feel my emotions I felt better after doing that.
Yeah, and
right?
I think that's a neat part. And I think for me performing, it's the same thing. When I write songs, there's not a lot of screaming, but in the Lennon stuff, there's a bit of screaming. And so for me, it's so much fun to be on the stage, banging out electric guitar with a band, just screaming my lungs out. It's like, I'm having more fun than anybody listening. It's just fun it's cathartic, really, just to get that out.
I bet.
It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So two more things. You said something when they were asking you to do the John Lennon. You said if it's great and has impact. And that really hit me when you said that, because one of the secrets, obviously, to success is that do your absolute best. You know,
Right.
If you're going to do something, make it great.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point?
Right. And the other part is impact. So talk to me about what impact and having impact on people means to you and how that drives you.
Well, to me, it's critical. If I were playing and people were walking out during the show, I would never do another show because it's just for me. I can do that at home in front of a mirror, you know. But when you get done and there's a standing ovation and then you go in the back and then you come out in the front, they're all waiting in line for a half hour just to say to you, thank you. That meant so much to me. Thanks for keeping that music alive. I mean, the first time that happened to me, I thought, oh my God, I have a responsibility to these people because I can deliver John's music in a way that hits them, that they can't get anywhere else and have never had an opportunity to get. And so to me, there's a real responsibility to that.
Yes.
If I don't do it, they're not going to get it, you know, kind of thing. So that inspires me because I know every time I do it, I get ready, I do the best I can do, and I know it's going to change people's lives for a moment in a certain way. And I had this one lady come up to me. She had to be 75 or 80 years old at the time. And she walks up to me, and she stood there, and then she backed up, a short little thing, and she goes, I almost walked out when you came on stage. I was sitting in the front row, and you looked so much like him, I freaked out. But I stayed. And I said, well, then I did my job, because I should almost freak you out, and I want you to stay.
Wow.
You know? And another time I was playing, and this lady in front of me about 3 rows away, I don't play piano. I kind of goof off. So in the show, I fake piano while my piano player plays incredibly well. And when he's mad at me, he makes a bad note. I apologize to the audience for screwing up the song. But this lady was like, I couldn't tell with the light. She can't see very far sometimes. And she looked like she was laughing or crying. And so I started forgetting the lyrics because if she's laughing at me, that bothered me. And if she's crying, that kind of bothered me. And so at the end of the song, I asked her, I said, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine. I said, are you laughing or are you crying? She says, I'm crying. I said, oh, well, then I'm doing my job. That's okay. You know, but it's an interesting thing when you can impact people like that. And it'd be nice if I did it with my music, but it seems to happen more with John's. You know?
Well, let me ask you this. This is pretty, what really got me, is that you had a drummer, A.D. Adams, tell
A.D.
you it ain't going to play by itself.
Yeah. I think that, you know, I like to do things for people, and I don't like to ask people for things very often. It's just probably maybe how I was brought up in the family and also. These guys, there are so many incredible musicians in this town, and I have an amazing circle from making records for 30 years. then I have discovered that a lot of them would be glad to play with me for free just because they love me and we have this great relationship. But I never would ask them for that, you know. So I'm thinking, well, I know what I usually pay them, so it's going to cost me about $1,800 to do a show. And at $10 a ticket at a local club, I'm going to pull in $300. Okay, so it's going to cost me $1,500 to play tonight if I want to do it. Well, I don't want to do that. And so we didn't get to play much because I wouldn't pay. This doesn't make sense, you know. But all of these guys were kind of like, well, I'll play. And so we have this core group that'll just play if I call them. And AD was one of those guys when I was complaining, well, you know, I can't make enough money to pay everybody, you know. And he says, yeah, but the music's really good. And I said, well, thanks. I think it's really good, too. And he goes, and they ain't going to play themselves. And I thought, you're right. No one's covering my material. If I'm not out there playing it, then it doesn't get shared. And the fans that I do have and dear friends that love the music, they come to every show. So it's kind of like, you know, they don't get it either unless I go play it. No one's covering my stuff. And so that was poignant to me. And it made me focus on doing shows more regularly. And I have a show on June 2nd coming up at BLK. Come on out to the show.
I would love to.
Right in Scottsdale.
I would love to. When is it? June what?
June 2nd.
June 2nd. We're still in town.
Saturday night.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll put you on a guest
We're going to
list.
Montreal as snowbirds, as Rob would call us, for June and July. But
cool.
we're still here. I'd love to. I'd love
Yeah,
to
it'd
see
be
you
great.
play. Because I believe that each person, whether it's a book or a dream or a record or whatever it is, you know, music that you just feel like you want to play guitar, but you've never gone and taken lessons, you know. Excuse me. We all have to get that out of us because it's inside of us, right? So it's a beautiful metaphor. It's like
Yeah.
you got this beautiful guitar. It's not going to play itself.
I know.
And you have to be the conduit to which the music comes through.
Yeah, and it changes people. You can impact people.
Yeah, but like you said, it changes you too. I
Yeah.
mean, what would it be like if you didn't listen to that calling and you decided to just stay in college and do something because you were supposed
Business
to?
management.
Right? And instead, you're doing what you love still. You know, after
absolutely.
decades, so many people don't love what they do. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't listen to that music that's inside of them. Wayne Dyer was an amazing spiritual teacher. I'm sure you've heard of
Yep.
him. And he would say, "Don't die with your music inside you."
Yeah.
You know, and it's a metaphor for each one of us that whatever is pulsating within us needs to come out because each one of us are creators.
And I think that was a big lesson for me when I made my very first record. I'd been making records for other people for so long and kind of helping them realize their dream, in a sense, being their place of redemption, in a sense. When I made my first record, when I got done, I got on my knees and kissed the ground and said, wow, I can die now. I actually left something behind that's me. But I hadn't realized how big of a deal it was to get the music out as opposed to just helping people get the music out. It's like you have your own to speak, you know, and you have to
Yes.
get it out.
Absolutely. So how would you recommend that people get it out? Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Like scream in the room at the moment. I love people who are kind of crazy who can just burst into song anywhere, anytime because they're in the mood. But really, it's like if you have any interest in any kind of craft or art, I think the key is to dive in, find it, and do it. There's a young girl in my life, and she doesn't seem to have any interest. And all of a sudden, we saw her staring at this floor plan, and started to grill me about questions of design. And it's like, ding, hey, there's the art, there's this expression. So this becomes something, you got to come out. This is a place where it speaks to you, you know? And
Yes.
finding that thing, whatever it is critical. And sometimes you have to bump into it to discover it.
Absolutely. When it lights you up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your tool. You got to get it out.
Thank you so much for spending
Thank you
time
for
with
having me on.
and thank you for playing both your music
Yeah.
and John Lennon. That was really a treat.
Anytime.
Appreciate you. Appreciate Dave Pratt for introducing us,
Yes.
and I'm glad to be, your neighbor on the network. And
Yeah.
encourage everybody to watch Otto D's show on Star Worldwide Network as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're taking away, and whatever music you have inside of you, make sure that you're expressing it out today.